Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Sunday Messages. I hope you're all doing well. And let's see, we have a lot of stuff going on right now. If you're following me on Instagram, you know all about it. But I have blog updates that I'm sharing every week. We have a Notes from Future Self workshop going on Tuesday. I have a bundle that's out. So here's the deal. If you are on my newsletter, then you're getting a free Notes from Future Self workshop. And we're going to be doing those every month. I do the process for myself anyway, and the response from people has been so overwhelmingly positive that I just decided to make it a free monthly workshop. So if you want that, get on my newsletter. By the way, my newsletter is the shit. Ask anyone. It's the best. I give exclusive content on there, and you get a reading every Sunday. I give you a weekly message. I use a tarot card for it. It's very good. People love my newsletter. So if you're not already on it, get on it. And let's see, what else do I want to mention? So the workshop is happening at noon on Tuesday. And then we're going to be writing our Note from Future Self for the following month. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. I recommend you be there. Yes, the replay will be posted as well. So we have that going on. I have a Halloween themed astral playground session that we're going to be doing on Tuesday, which is going to be really fun. And then also the spooky bundle disappears on Tuesday. So that includes psychic defense and divination, my two psychic classes. So in divination, you learn how to use a pendulum, and I give a lecture on the energetic side of divination. So what's actually happening energetically and how it works. So all types of different energetic and divination tools. I explain the mechanical side of that. And divination is a really good masterclass, by the way. That was so much fun to host. And then psychic defense is loaded with energetic tools. Okay, so that includes my Connect to Source meditation. That's like my bread and butter meditation for just energetic maintenance. That's the go-to. And then it has all sorts of different meditative tools that you can use out in your daily life. Great for energetic hygiene. It's super interactive. And you get to see my bad hair. Okay, when I had a horrible hairstyle going. So you get to see all of that inside Psychic Defense. And if you go look at that page, there's a detailed description of every single module and all the material inside. So go check that out. Okay, is there anything else? I think that's everything for the moment. But there is one disclaimer that I need to give for, sorry, my glasses are getting pushed down by my hat. There's one disclaimer that I need to give for this podcast. I was recently asked multiple health related questions. So I have a podcast submission that is about health. And then I also received some questions on Instagram about health related subjects. So I want to make it real clear. This isn't medical advice. I am not a doctor. Go get medical advice if you need medical advice. What I am offering, because I was asked, is the energetic side of things. Okay, so I'm not saying that you shouldn't get medical treatment and you should just meditate on shit. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. We know my lane is energetics, spirituality, God. That's my vibe. That's what I focus on. So that's where I'm staying. Just making that really clear. We're all clear that I'm not a doctor. This is just what I would do to supplement any of the practical actions that you're taking. So yes, do all of the medical stuff and then add this on top. This is what I would do in addition to any of the practical actions that you want to take regarding health. Here's the second thing that I want to mention about all things health-related, disease, physical body. This is a complicated topic for people, and it's emotionally charged because there are two different things that happen for people. This is what I see. You have the soul's path wanting to explore physical ailments. Okay, so this is one type of human experience that is available to people. Think about childhood illness, childhood cancer, chronic illness, different things like that, where this is a consistent theme throughout life. That's a chosen area of exploration on a soul level. Okay, so that's one possibility or one experience that people have. And the other thing that happens with health is if there's nowhere else for the energy to go, if there's persistent misalignment that continues to happen over and over and over and over and over and over and over, then people can have the experience of, well, how else is your attention? How else are you supposed to have your attention drawn to your misalignment? And so people usually have a hot spot where misalignment is brought to their attention. For some people, it's money. For some people, it's health. For some people, it's their relationships. There's all sorts of different ways that this can manifest. And so the physical body is just one way of getting your attention if you're not paying attention. So those are the two types of experiences that I see on an energetic level. Again, take it or leave it. If it resonates with you, great. If not, ignore me. But I have two different, the reason why I'm setting that up for the conversation is this is usually where people get confused. Like, are you saying that lack of health in any capacity is a negative manifestation? Which I wouldn't describe it that way. I would describe it as what I said earlier, as far as consistent misalignment will need to present itself in some manner, or it's a chosen area of expansion. So think about this for a moment. All of us have this. There's one area that is particularly tough, like more so than the others. I have not met a person who does not have this, where it's like this thing, this area is the most difficult to transform. Everyone has one topic like that. And so for some people, it's health. And that also, on the flip side, does bring the potential for expansion in some capacity. Does not always mean healing, right? Think about if you incarnate, immediately get sick, and die within the first year of life. I don't know what that soul is doing, but I think people get really tied up in like the pain of the surviving family. Okay, so when you see something that's traumatic, like a child that gets sick, people get very emotionally wrapped up in the family's pain, not the soul. We don't know what the souls are doing. Okay, we can never know what's going on with another soul. So this is just one perspective more on the energetic level. I could go into a whole masterclass on death right now. But essentially what I'm getting at is there are more technicalities around this subject than many others. Okay, so most people consider this to be like a a luck thing rather than a chosen exploration thing. And my hope, even though some of you might want to strangle me, is that maybe looking at it through that lens could break some things loose and potentially make you shift into curiosity rather than feeling unlucky, unfortunate, traumatized victim. If you can at least open up into curiosity around potentially this being an area of exploration for you, even shifting, altering your perception around that can start moving some pieces around. It's an option. It's an option. The other thing, I have friends and loved ones and all of that stuff, all of those people who are dealing with chronic illness. So some of the information that I share are more of my own observations from being close to people who are dealing with chronic illness or who have been battling chronic illness for a really long time, or who have a lot of complex medical issues. Okay, so that's partly where this is coming from, just as an outside observer. So are we all clear? We're all clear before we get into this medical conversation. This is a perspective. This is an idea. Take it or leave it. I'm not a doctor. This isn't medical advice. This is hopefully a way to shake things up for you, loosen things up if that's something that feels good to you. All right, let's get into the podcast submission. Hey, Sid, was hoping you could help me with my current energy and mindset. I have had 2 significant health issues back to back, with one still ongoing. With my body in discomfort every day and still being unsure of what exactly is wrong and how to fix it. I'm anxious, fearful, and unsure of how and when there will be resolution. I'm also feeling energy fatigue from having health problems for the last 4 months straight. Also, I'm currently unemployed and job hunting. I'm concerned my funky energy from my health issues will impact my ability to allow in the new job. What is the best way to manage my energy to ensure amazing and quick solutions to both my health issues and the allowing of the new job? Thank you so much. Sending you all the best as always. So I'm like 99% sure I know who I'm talking to right now, even though it's anonymous. There's a few different things that I want to mention here. The first thing is that I'm assuming that when you're saying you don't know what it is, you're not sure how, when there will be a resolution, how to deal with it, I'm assuming that you were told by doctors that it's idiopathic, that they don't really know what's going on. It's giving mystery illness. We don't know what's happening for you. I'm assuming that that's what you were told. The advantage of this is that you don't have anything to grab a hold of and internalize when it comes to a diagnosis. So there are pros and cons to getting a diagnosis and dealing with something idiopathic. What I will say, the advantage to having doctors say, we don't really know what to do for you, is that it gives your mindset more freedom and plasticity. Because a lot of the time, as soon as people experience a diagnosis, it calcifies and becomes very rigid. So mindset and energetic work becomes much, much, much more difficult post-diagnosis because people like glue their identity to the diagnosis. That's not good. You do just from a mindset and energetic perspective, terrible idea to glue your identity to a sickness or to a diagnosis. So I want you to see that you are at a certain advantage when it comes to the mental piece, which is instead of saying, I don't know how and when there will be resolution, look at it like at any moment things could improve. You're saying the same thing. It's just that one feels a shit ton better. So let yourself orient towards resolution now. Like, not in the sense that it has to, but just shifting. It could happen any moment. It could happen any moment. It could happen any moment. I could feel some relief any moment. The other thing that I want to mention is whenever there is something that can't be explained by science that comes up, even though I am of the mindset that we're energy, we're creating, literally every cell of our body is made of energy. Okay, energy. And that is what creates, that is what composes the materialization of everything around us and our physical bodies. So I'm of a heavy energetic standpoint more so than other people. When there is something that you don't really know what's going on, you don't know why it's there, blah, 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 going to energetics as, let me say this differently, substantially leaning on shifting energetically is something that is more, how do I want to say this? I want to speak freely, but it's such a, people get so fucking fussy about this. So my approach always, no matter what is coming up, is energetics must be addressed. They must. This is one of the biggest reasons why I get hired. Is I don't talk about this very often, but usually one of the types of people that hires me is the person who says, I've been dealing with this for 20 years and I haven't got it to budge. I've been dealing with this. I'm out of options. I've taken every practical action and I haven't seen improvements. I've been trying to grow this business for however long and nothing is moving. I've been having relationship issues that have not been able to shift for the past 10 years. I get those people who are at the end of their rope and have no choice but to address the energetics. And the energetics are the first thing that should be addressed, in my opinion, for obvious reasons. And so what I'm getting at is that you being in a position where there are no practical actions to take at this point is an advantage because it forces you to focus on the energetics. Whereas if you have a whole bunch of fancy diagnoses that have infinite medical procedures to choose from, and you could go under the knife and get flown to this country and get this treatment and that treatment and that treatment and that treatment, that can become a rabbit hole of its own where you just get swept into medical procedure after medical procedure after medical procedure. And some people do have that experience and some people do walk that path. But the fact that you are not being offered that, and you are now at this place where it's like, okay, well, now I have to ask Sydney, because if no one else, and this is why at the last possible moment, then people start going to God or going to energetics or whatever. And I'm just saying it could be the first thing that you recruit for help, not the last. So here's how I see it. I would be willing to bet, and I'm assuming that I know who I'm talking to right now. I would ask you to go back and look at over the past few years, not months or weeks leading up to this experience of physical illness, but over the past few years, how much people pleasing have you been engaging in? How many times did you say yes to something you wanted to say no to? How often were you dishonoring yourself, disregarding yourself, or neglecting yourself? How often were you denying your truth? How often were you allowing people to bulldoze you? How often were you not setting boundaries? How often were you ignoring your deep knowing? How many times did you do that? Because with stuff like this, and there we can talk about different frequencies create different symptoms. You could look at it like that. It's not a hard rule, but usually the manifestation of powerlessness, right? There's a frequency to that. The physical symptoms that are compatible with powerlessness or self-neglect, right? All of these things can show up and be a reflection in the body. Again, it's a perspective. I'm not a fucking doctor, so I don't want to hear it. It's just a perspective. But that is the place that I would look for you. Again, assuming I know who I'm talking to and I know your emotional history. So this is why when people say the disease to please, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. I believe Gabor Mate wrote a book called When the Body Says No. It is shocking. Absolutely bananas. If you have not read that book, I highly recommend it. It's wild. They could literally have doctors. It was this crazy study where they had doctors blind guess if a certain patient had ALS. I believe it's Lou Gehrig's disease, if I'm saying that correctly. And one of the characteristics of ALS is they're so nice, like too nice, like to a fault kind of nice. And the doctors were able to blind predict with a shocking degree of accuracy whether or not a certain patient, just off of first impressions, nothing about medical history or anything like that, just guess based on a brief interaction whether or not they had ALS. Because people pleasing, being overly nice, that personality style was compatible with this specific illness. And one of the things that the doctors would say is, oh, there's no way that guy has ALS. He's an asshole. Like, all of the people with ALS are so overwhelmingly nice. And they did an actual study. I don't have numbers, but he brings it up in the book. It's crazy. And went into all of these different case studies, all of these different illness patterns that had emotional roots. So this is one of the very interesting things is just looking at the emotional compatibility with physical symptoms. So, for example, one of the things that I experience is I get ulcers in my throat. It literally looks like a cigarette burn in the back of my throat. It looks like a giant canker sore all over my tonsils. Will happen when I get stressed. So that is my body saying, hey, can we like relax a little bit? Or you could look at, for someone who's very high strung type A, prone to anger, there's a different frequency to that can manifest in the body. You get what I'm saying? So I suspect if we were to look at this strictly energetically speaking, this is probably you were neglecting things for a long time, and it was many little grains of sand in a heap. Many little yeses when you wanted to say no. Many moments when you tolerated something, apologized for something, did something you didn't want to do over and 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 over until your body is like, hello. Your soul is saying, we're knocking. You're not listening. Illness. How else is it supposed to get your attention? How else is, if you're not listening and there's all these signs, it's showing up, we're trying to get your attention, we're trying to get your attention, we're trying to get your attention, we're trying to get your attention over and over and over for years. I do not believe that this was spontaneous. There were many cues that you were given over a long period of time. And then it actually gets to the point where it materializes. It was, I don't want to go off the rails about why certain detours, and I've talked about that before. I don't want to go into the reason why things can spontaneously happen as a way to change the trajectory of your life. Please don't make me go over that again in this podcast episode. This is going to be long enough. But situations like this, I do not believe this was a spontaneous experience. I believe that there was probably many events that led up to this, and that's why it's materialized now. Okay, when it comes to the job, I would treat them the same. I know that you were talking about, I'm worried that my health is going to negatively impact the job. I look at it a little bit differently. It's the health and the job are kind of a package deal. You're telling me you're anxious, you're afraid, you're worried. Well, that's all of the emotional stuff that wasn't getting cleaned up for the past few years. That's all of the stuff that wasn't being tended to. You're saying, instead of, I don't have a job and that's why I'm anxious and fearful, my argument is, no, you were annoyed, frustrated, irritated, sad, defeated, all of these things. And now you're at the point where you're in fear, but there was emotional maturation that was occurring. So don't look at it like the circumstances are causing the emotions. This has been an emotional train that has been going for a long time that you weren't tending to. And I'm saying this not to blame, but to get you to shift your perspective on it so that you can start to feel more empowered. Like, oh, I was not taking care of this, that, and the other thing. Oh yeah, there were so many times when I blah, blah, blah. And that's now why I'm experiencing this. So the job situation, we can look at it the same. It was a way to get your attention. It was a way to signal misalignment. And when you, here, this will be good. So I would approach this very classically. Look up the Abraham Hicks emotional scale. Okay. And be honest with yourself about where you are. You're going to be pretty low. You're going to be pretty low on the emotional scale. Then I believe you know how to do mental mold. I would do mental mold and work your way up. and massage the thoughts, massage the feelings, massage the expectations around all of this, just gently every day, just focusing on feeling a little better. Just it's the reason why I'm saying it's the classic Abraham Hicks thing. It's the feel for the better feeling thought. Don't make it any more complicated than that. Assume the more you feel better, don't look at it like I need to fix my health or there needs to be resolution right now. Don't look at it like that at all. Look at it like I'm just gonna think a little better. I'm gonna feel for something a little better. I'm gonna expect something a little better to the best of my ability. Even if it's just 1% or 1 degree, I'm just gonna orient that way more. And you just keep doing that over and over and over again. Just keep orienting towards the better thing, better thing, better thing. And again, don't view the health and the job as being separate. They're the same issue. So let them resolve as the same issue as well. I hope that answers that. Okay, here's a different set of questions that I received. Terminology. This was Instagram story, so people are limited in characters. Terminology and how you'd work with expanding food repertoire for many intolerances and sensitivities. Terms and how to address sensory processing sensitivities. Okay, so when it comes to, again, if you were just looking at this as frequency of sensitivity, there's a fragility component to it. Like, no, I can't have that. I can't touch that. I can't be around that. Which the frequency to counteract that is more of the hardiness, the security, the stability, the feeling like I could be exposed to it and it's no big deal. And again, I'm not saying that you should go eat a fistful of peanuts. I'm saying this is how you can play with it in your mind. Now, again, the benefit to sensitivity and not allergy is allergies typically when someone's talking about like a shellfish or a peanut allergy. That means you might need to take me to the hospital, or I might need an EpiPen. I'm going to go into anaphylactic shock. My throat's going to close up and I'm going to die. Sensitivity is much more flexible for you to work with. And it's almost like you want to, let's see, would I cut out the word? I would cut out the word sensitivity altogether. There's no reason to continue using the word. Start with the emotional attitude of this is no big deal. Maybe the sensitivities are more of a nocebo than anything else. As in, if you expect you're going to have a really negative reaction to something, if I came up to you with a bottle of mysterious cream, okay, like just a random tube of cream, and I said, okay, I'm gonna rub this on your hand, and your hand is gonna swell up and get really itchy, you could induce that experience and that sensation even if it was a complete benign substance, even if it was just this neutral oil that literally you were non-reactive to and you had no allergy to, you could bring yourself to negatively expect something to the point where you will develop symptoms. Use the nocebo-placebo to your advantage. Use your expectations, shifting your expectations to your advantage. Start breaking it up first with language. Okay, instead of saying, no, I'm sensitive. I'm sensitive to that. I can't. There again, there's this brittle, contracted energy to it, and you're just doing this in your mind. I'm not saying that you should go eat all of the things that you're super sensitive to. This is a mind game that you're doing first, is relaxing your attitude about it and just starting there. That's how I would break it up. And then I might say things like, I like the idea of being able to eat da da da, or not, how would I phrase this? I like the idea of being able to insert your preferred experience, of being able to eat freely and drink things freely or be around things freely. I like the idea of my body being stable, sturdy, and hardy. I like the feeling of being able to expose myself to the things, the elements, and to be okay. I like that idea. And you just let yourself warm up to all of that. Just let yourself warm up to it. Just feel into it a little bit more. Here's another thing that you could do. You could list out, I'll give you some different lists to make. List out your inner dialogue about foods and substances and different things that you have sensitivities to, and then list out what's an improved way to phrase all of those things, or how to just, you're going to have to, I don't know exactly what you're dealing with, but just find a way to massage your own perception around it. Here's another thing you can do. You can make a list of your identity, or how you are as being extremely sensitive to all these things, not having total confidence over being able to navigate, the elements of earth, the substances that exist on earth, however you want to phrase this for yourself. So write down all of the things that you think, feel, believe, all of the behaviors that you're engaging in that signal sickness. And then you make another list with, what do you imagine the healthiest version of you would be doing and thinking and experiencing and all of that stuff. Then, as much as you can, do as many things as you literally just within the realm of what is possible and available for you. Do more of the things that are on that list. For example, on the sickness side, you might have ruminating about medical treatments or ruminating about medical issues. On the healthy side, there would be no rumination of medical issues. And rumination, that's an option. That's something that you can practice not doing. Rumination is not something that is medically necessary for you to do. That's just a mental habit. So you can look at different things like that. Here's the other thing that I notice about stuff like this, and particularly with chronic illness. There are so many specifics, so much discussion, so much focus, so much energy, so much about specifics that really are not helpful. Like it's just not helpful to be endlessly ultra specific. Unless your full belief is behind, this is a magic bullet and poof, this is going to give me the experience of having a healing in this moment. I mean, then specifics are good, but usually that's not how people are utilizing specifics. Most of the time it's, oh yeah, there's this problem and they don't know what to do about it. And there's like all these different treatment options. And I don't know, is it bacterial? Is it viral? Is it parasitic? Is it? And when it's just this clusterfuck of specifics with no solution, and just turmoil about the specifics, then you want to start breaking that up again with language first. Language and how you're thinking about it and considering it mentally can start breaking that up and also make you available to more solutions. So beware of specifics if they're not helping you. Okay, that's something to consider as well. Let me see if there's anything else. Anything else here? For you with the sensory processing and the sensitivities, I am a big fan of minimization, and with things that are complex in a way that is not beneficial, I actually like simplifying them. So I like doing the things that people advise against in a limited context when it makes sense. So minimization, a no biggie attitude. This is no big deal. This is easy. I was blowing this out of proportion. I know that some people say you're gaslighting yourself. Well, I mean, how else are you supposed to improve it if you're not like trying to get yourself behind the idea of this isn't as big of a deal as I've been making it? What other option is there? And so I'm a big fan of minimization because that's better than blowing it out of proportion. That's better than amplifying it to the 11th degree. I don't think that helps if you're already really sensitive. You want to kind of chill that out. And then the other thing that, we hear all the time, like black and white thinking isn't good, which is true most of the time. However, when it comes to something like this, where there's many rabbit holes for you to focus on, I would get a bit more black and white with it and think about health is a matter of energetic circulation versus energetic stagnation. And don't make it any more complicated that just for your own peace of mind, just for your own sanity. Like, okay, I don't necessarily have the I'm saying this from your perspective. I don't necessarily have all of these different procedures and treatments that I could do in order to fix this. However, I do know that I can circulate more energy in my body. I can allow more energetic circulation in my body. And I know that there is a certain level of, there is a certain healthy baseline that is available to me. And so just speaking very broadly about energetic circulation and a healthy baseline would be good. So less is more. With this particular type of stuff, I find less is more. The specifics can kind of take you off into more bullshit. Frankly, like it can just get unnecessarily complicated, and that's not good for the mindset and energetic piece, in my opinion. So once again, none of this is medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I am just a random person on the internet, and do with this what you will. Perhaps it helps with the mindset aspect of this. Maybe you don't like any of it. You want to toss it. You disagree with it. Maybe you try a few things, whatever. But those are some different things that I would experiment with if you want to loosen things up, start becoming more available for better and better experiences, so on and so forth. So that is all that I have for you in this moment. I hope this has been helpful, supportive, and that's all for now. I will talk to you all later. Don't forget, if you want to get the spooky bundle, go get it. If you want to be on or if you want to come to the Notes from Future Self workshop, get on the newsletter. All of the links will be in the description box or the show notes. That is all for now, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.